All right, so today we're diving into a Kolkata mystery that really got people talking. You remember, right? The young doctor found dead in a hospital.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone had a theory. Organ harvesting, conspiracies. I mean, the rumors were wild.
It's like truth is stranger than fiction, as they say, right?
Well, we're here to try to untangle it all. We've got the official CBI reports, court stuff, even some news articles from back then.
Should be interesting to see what really went down.
Let's do it.
Hmm.
So picture this. RG Carr Medical College and Hospital. I've got a junior doctor there.
Mhm.
Last sighting, August 8th. Next day, found dead. Hospital seminar hall.
And then, boom, the police were like, we got our guy, Sanjay Roy, but not everyone was buying it.
Yeah, people weren't convinced. Thought there was more to it, maybe a cover-up, which is how the CBI gets called in.
Right, like the big guns.
Hmm.
They're India's top investigative agency, the best of the best. So when they issue a report, a 45-page report, like in this case, people listen.
Oh, yeah, 45 pages. They weren't messing around. And they had some compelling stuff. First off, the CCTV footage. Straight out of a movie, really. The camera. Positioned perfectly. Anyone going in or out of that seminar hall, they were going to be on camera. And guess what? Only one person was seen during the important time. Sanjay Roy.
Okay, so we've got him on tape at the scene, but hang on. Here's where it gets really interesting. They found a Bluetooth earphone at the crime scene.
And you know what? Roy had denied even being in that seminar hall. But that earphone nailed him. The CBI, they found out it was his. Busted.
Talk about a small detail blowing a case wide open. But wait, there's more. Remember all that talk about a gang rape?
Oh, yeah, that was everywhere. Awful. But the CBI's forensic analysis completely debunked it. Semen samples matched to only Sanjay Roy.
Wow. And to add to that, remember how we were talking about the importance of those tiny details? Well, the forensic team, they found something else. Blood and DNA under the victim's fingernails. Whose DNA do you think they found?
Come on, you're killing me. It was Roy's, wasn't it?
You got it. Roy's DNA. And, get this, the report mentions he also had these unexplained scratches.
So she fought back. God, it's heartbreaking. This was a young woman, a doctor, just trying to get some rest. She was in the middle of a 36-hour shift.
Working herself to the bone. And where does she go to catch a few winks? A place that should be safe? The hospital seminar hall. And that's where she runs into Sanjay Roy.
And Roy, he wasn't exactly a stranger to the police, was he?
You're right. He had a history. He was, what do they call him, a police tout? Basically a go-between for the police and the public. And he was known to hang around the hospital, sometimes drinking in the quieter spots.
Okay, so now we're starting to get a better picture who these people are. But what exactly happened that night? What's the CBI's take?
Right, getting down to the nitty-gritty. So the CBI, they believe that Roy, probably fueled by alcohol, saw an opportunity when he found the victim asleep in that seminar hall. You know, that sense of impunity, it's a dangerous cocktail. Things escalated, and tragically, we know the outcome.
It's just awful.
It really is. And look, I know there was a lot of, let's say, colorful speculation going around, so I just want to be clear. The CBI report is very straightforward. While the victim was unconscious during the assault, she was alive. Not a case of, well, some of the things people were suggesting.
It was a horrific attack, plain and simple. This young woman, she had her whole life ahead of her, just senseless.
Absolutely. So we've got the who, the what, even the how. But the big question, the one that always lingers, is why? Why did this happen? And how did things spin so wildly out of control? And that's where the media frenzy comes in. That's a whole other story we'll unpack in part 2 of this deep dive. Honestly, prepping for this deep dive, the amount of just crazy misinformation floating around about this case, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's kind of a textbook example of how speculation can just run wild, especially when a case hits on these really deep fears.
Right. I mean, we're talking organ harvesting, a whole pornography operation at the hospital, even rumors of like a 20-person gang rape. Crazy, right? You'd think nobody would believe that stuff, but...
Yeah. Well, and you have to remember, some of it stemmed from those early forensic reports, like the blood and DNA under the victim's fingernails. People latched onto that. But without the full context the CBI report gave, things got, well, distorted.
It really shows you how easy it is to jump to conclusions. But this isn't just about gossip, right? What does this kind of media frenzy, what does it actually do to a case like this?
Well, the damage can be significant. Here, you had the CBI. They had to spend time and resources shooting down these wild theories, all while under pressure to find answers quickly. It's a distraction.
And then there's the human side of it. This victim's family, they're dealing with this unimaginable loss, and then they have to see these awful rumors about their loved one plastered everywhere, not to mention the hospital staff. Their workplace, a place that's supposed to be about healing, it becomes a place of suspicion and fear.
Exactly. It highlights just how dangerous misinformation can be. Reputations are damaged, trust in institutions erodes, and the people who are already hurting, well, they hurt more.
It's a tough one. So how do we, like, as people reading the news, hearing these stories, how do we navigate all this, especially with social media? Stuff spreads so fast.
Critical thinking. That's the key. Don't just accept everything you read or hear. Look at the source, think about their agenda, and if something sounds too crazy to be true, it probably is.
Be informed, but be smart about it. Sometimes those shocking stories, they're the ones that need the most scrutiny. Okay, so we have this incredibly detailed report from the CBI. It clears up a lot. But what comes next? What happens with the case?
Well, based on all their findings, the CBI formally charged Sanjay Roy. But this is just the beginning, really. The legal system, it's a long road.
So even with all that evidence, it could be years before they reach a verdict.
Absolutely. The Indian legal system, it's known for its delays, especially with a case this big. And even if Roy is found guilty, he can still appeal. It could drag on for years. And for the victim's family, that wait for justice, that's its own kind of ordeal.
It makes you wonder if there's ever really closure in a situation like this. The CBI report, it answers some questions, but it also opens up even bigger ones.
That's such an important point. We spent all this time on the who, what, and how of the crime itself. But the why. Why was this young doctor working a double shift? Why was she vulnerable in a place that should be a safe haven?
And what can be done so this doesn't happen again? How do we make hospitals, healthcare facilities safe for everyone, especially women? Are there bigger problems that need fixing?
These are the questions that we need to be asking. This goes way beyond just this one awful event. We're talking about deep-rooted societal issues, gender inequality, security failures, the responsibility institutions have to protect people. These are conversations we need to have as a society.
It's heavy stuff. We can analyze the details of a crime, but the hardest questions, the why questions, they're the ones that stick with you.
They do. And I think that's part of what makes this deep dive so important. It's not just about understanding one case. It's about using that case to see the bigger picture, to start a discussion about how to do better.
It's about demanding accountability, pushing for real change, making sure these stories aren't forgotten. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get back to the case. In part 3, we'll look at where things stand now and if there's been any justice for the victim and her family. So we've gone through it all, right? The crime itself, the media circus, even the systemic issues at play. But where do things stand now? Has there been any justice?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? The CBI charged Sanjay Roy, but like we said, the legal system, it takes time. The trial's still going on.
Yeah.
With how complicated things can be, it could be years before we get a verdict.
Years. Wow. Years of court dates, appeals, and for the family, just this agonizing wait for some kind of closure. It makes you think, is that enough? Even if they find him guilty, can anything really heal what happened?
It's true. These wounds, they run deep. And while the courts can deal with the crime itself, they can't erase the pain or really fix the problems that might have led to it in the first place.
Which brings us back to those bigger questions. What can we actually do to stop this from happening again? How do we make hospitals, healthcare facilities safer for everyone, especially women working these tough jobs?
It takes a real change. Institutions need to step up. Tighter security, making it clear that harassment, violence, it won't be tolerated. Not just saying it, but meaning it.
100%. It's about making sure everyone feels safe, respected, that they can speak up if something's wrong, and people will listen. No more sweeping things under the rug.
Exactly. And this goes beyond security cameras and badges. It's about training, education, getting to the root of why this happens, these power dynamics, these biases.
It's about changing how we think in hospitals, in society. And that's on all of us. Speaking out against injustice, holding people accountable, supporting those trying to make a difference.
You know, you hear it all the time. One person can't change things. But I disagree. Every bit of change starts with someone deciding to do something.
I love that. It's about using our voices, our actions, to make a difference. Even something small can have a big impact.
Absolutely. We're not just watching this happen. We can shape the story, demand justice, create a world where these tragedies are less and less likely.
That's a powerful thought. We've dug into some dark stuff today, but there's hope too. By talking about these issues, even the hard ones, we can make a difference.
Knowledge is power, right? When we understand these issues, when we don't shy away from the truth, we could be part of the solution.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive. We've covered a lot, but I hope you've walked away with a better understanding of this case, what it says about the bigger picture, and what we can all do.
Thanks for being here. Keep asking the tough questions, keep pushing for better, and keep believing that change is possible.